All right, let's talk about the first Riddick film. Now, I have seen all three Riddick movies, but I have not seen the animated stuff. I know that there's Dark Fury. I know that there's two video games as well. The Escape from Butcher's Bay, which is a prequel to this, which is like how he escaped from prison, which is pretty cool. And then there is a sequel to that as well, which I think takes place like right at the end of that game. I think that's what I read on that. And then there's also other like little shorts and whatnot. So this is actually a pretty vast universe over a few different types of media, that if you really want like a more fleshed out story of the Chronicles of Riddick as they are named in the next film. To my memory, to my knowledge, should I say, this is not based on anything. So this is all like original stuff here. So that's cool. Unfortunately, like everything we watch these days always has to be based on some established lore IP or source material or something, but not this one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I probably am. I'm sure somebody's gonna be like, "No, this is like a book series." I don't think it is, but if it is, and another cool thing is that the same director does all of these films and is doing a fourth film currently as we speak. I think they're filming it right now, so we are getting a Riddick Furiosa. I don't want. It's not Furiosa because that's obviously Mad Max, but it's something Furia. Is that what the title was? Something like that. So for any Riddick fans, there is a new one being filmed currently and should be out probably next year. All right, so Vin Diesel. I like that, as much shit as Vin Diesel gets, I like that he does movies like this that are more R-rated, because, when I was growing up, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we had Stallone, and we had Van Damme, and and those were our action heroes, and they did R-rated films, and they were badass. And then, this era of like our strongmen, tough guy, action heroes, they mostly all do PG-13. Now there is some R-rated stuff, obviously, with our action heroes, with like a Keanu Reeves or something who does like John Wick, which those are fucking fantastic. But someone like The Rock or Dwayne Johnson, he's kind of supposed to be the modern Arnold, right? Like that's the closest thing we've got to Arnold Schwarzenegger, as to where like Scott Adkins, I guess, would kind of be like our Van Damme. I don't know who would be our Stallone. Maybe like a Jason Statham, or would he be more of the Van Damme? Because Scott Adkins, I guess, is smaller. I just thought that Van Damme does have a bigger name, so maybe that's not. Maybe Jason Statham is more of the Van Damme. Whatever. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But, I know that Vin Diesel is like a big Dungeons and Dragons geek. So he loves doing these like big sci-fi things. And he's done quite a few of these at this point. Successful or not, he definitely loves doing the big sci-fi fantasy type stuff. Whether it's like The Last Witch Hunter, or what's that other one with the super, oh shit, I'd have to think about that. But anyway, yeah, this is also got Cole Harser in it. Benny from Dazed and Confused is kind of how I always remember him. It's always hard for me to take him seriously as like a tough guy or a bad guy. He's just always been so likable to me. But he is the villain in Fast and the Furious 2, or Too Fast, Too Furious. And that obviously is connected to Vin Diesel, even though he's not really in that one. He's not in that one at all. He makes the cameo at the end of part 3, right? No, it's at the end of Too Fast, Too Furious, right? He's in Mexico. That's at the post credit sequence of that one, and then the stinger, yeah, because Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, he makes an appearance at the end racing in the parking structure. Yeah. Okay, so I guess Vin Diesel is in every Fast and the Furious movie in some capacity. Anyway, so we get the opening text in this movie, which is like really dark, and I get it. Like, it's pitch black, right? Like, that's the title of the film. Ha ha ha. But like, you can barely read the lettering. But it was because it's like in space, and then you have like black lettering that has like kind of brown like shadow or outline. Not even an outline, it's more like a shadow. And it's it's like I'm like looking at it, I can read it, but it's not the best of choices. But I get it, they're trying to keep it dark. And we got Radha Mitchell in here, who I feel like the only thing I really feel like I know her from is Silent Hill, which, that makes me think that they just released that Return to Silent Hill trailer, which was cool. It's being helmed by the guy who did the first movie, which a lot of people love, and it's cool to see him return to the franchise with Christopher Gaines, I think is his name. Am I correct on that? Anyway, it's cool. I'm looking forward to that. So, and then the opening with like the spacecraft like hitting re-entry and it's like shaking and the camera is just like, oh, it's so ridiculous. They just put it like on top of like a out of balanced washing machine, and it's just like, oh, it's so crazy. I was like, this is ridiculous. It doesn't need to be this shaky. Like, we get it, it's moving around a lot, but they're literally just like shaking the camera a bunch, and it's funny because this movie definitely feels pretty low budget. I think they get a pretty good result out of the budget here, but man, this is an ugly looking film. I think purposefully in some regards, for sure. Like, they're trying to do the washed out, bleached out look of there's 3 suns, and it's like overexposed, and I get that for sure. But I think this is mostly due to a budget issue, because they could make it look better. That being said, it is the early 2000s here, and this is when everything switched to digital, and they hadn't really figured digital out yet. I'm not saying they fully have to this day. Film definitely still looks better, but it is a million times better than it was in the early 2000s. Like, this was a time when film looked awful. It's not an appealing look. So yes, it's not a good looking movie, but it's a cool one. I'm not as in love with it as other people are. The fact this has like a 7.0 on IMDb is actually kind of surprising to me, but the fact that it has like this whole franchise behind it, that makes sense, right? People seem to really like this character and this franchise. The next movie compared to this film is night and day. It's like a completely different franchise, it feels. That one's like this huge fantasy epic kind of thing, and this one's like a small science fiction horror movie, which is kind of cool, right? It is unique, I'll give it that. And then the third film, from my memory, which has the wonderful Katie Sackhoff in it, is more like this one. It's more like small scale and horror, which the second one is not horror like at all to my memory. It's more like fantasy action, which is, yeah, it's interesting. There's definitely franchises like that for sure that feel unique from entry to entry, but these do feel wildly different. But I haven't seen the second one in quite a while. I only saw it the once. I remember, like, isn't Eddie Redmayne, however you say his name, isn't he the villain? Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what it's like in my head to compare it to, but maybe I'll come up with something. But it feels nothing like this movie, nothing like this film. But yeah, I liked it. I liked it. It feels independent. It feels low budget, but it's got a big named star in it. Was Vin Diesel big at this time? Is this before or after the first Fast and the Furious movie? Is this right before or right after? Probably right. Ooh, I actually don't know. I don't remember what year this movie was. And I can't remember. I think, isn't Fast and the Furious the first one like 2001? And then this is like that around that exact same time, isn't it? 2000 maybe? Shit, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. That's the problem with filming the way that I do. I can edit, but I am not going to. So I'll look after. But yeah, I mean, was Vin Diesel's name huge at this point? After the first Fast and the Furious, it definitely put him on the map. I remember seeing Vin in a few things. Boiling Point or Boiling? No, Boiler Room. Boiler Room? Yeah, Boiler Room with Giovanni Ribisi, Nicky Cat, who recently died, and Vin Diesel, and it's actually the precursor to The Wolf of Wall Street. It's actually about Jordan Belfort, who's played by the dude. Oh, what's his name from That Thing You Do and American Werewolf in Paris, actually. But yeah, he did that, and then he did A Man Apart, which I think he did after Fast and the Furious, and I actually really liked that. I thought that was a cool flick for him. There's a scene that actually made me cry in that movie when he can't protect his wife, and he gets in, like, she dies, and like he thinks he saved her, and he like goes to her kind of body as he's like thinks he saves her, and he's like, I saved you, like I protected you. Like, I don't know, there was something about the way he delivered that of like, this is my job, and he was successful, but then realizes like he didn't protect her, and that she is dying. That really messed me up at the time. So that was a cool movie. And anyway, let's see here. So, yeah, I like the kind of moral conundrum and arc that our main girl here has, Rhoda Mitchell's character. I wrote her name somewhere down in here. But she's going to eject everyone to save her, herself, and the whoever the second in command is, because the captain dies, and then whoever's the next guy in charge is trying to tell her, and then he dies. But yeah, she's going to do it, and she doesn't even really listen to him. It definitely messes up, and she does not eject them, and then everybody finds out, and then in the end she has the chance to save herself, and she ultimately decides like, no, I will die for these people, and goes and gets them, and ends up dying. So I actually think her arc is really, really well done in this. I did like where she started, and the journey she went on, and kind of like her, and Riddick's as well. Riddick's kind of that. He's not one-dimensional, for sure. He could easily be one-dimensional. But he's kind of like the classic anti-hero guy, and you never know if you can trust him or not, but ultimately you know that he's probably going to do the right thing. That being said, the ending absolutely makes it seem like he's leaving them. I mean, I don't know how else to read this. He locks them in this cave, and gets the batteries or whatever he's pulling, and he takes it back to the ship, and he's loading up, and he's gonna leave. like, I don't, as I said, I don't know how else to read that. She ends up getting there and talking him into going back, and it's mostly because she says she'll die for them, and I think this influences him. Which, once again, I think that's cool. I think that's good for her arc, and I think it's good for how she's influenced him to make him a better person. I don't think he's the bastard that he thinks he is, but he's a survivalist. Like, at the end of the day, it's him. He's surviving, for sure, right? Like, his self-preservation is at the top of his to-do list. And, you know, he's not going to let anything stand in the way of that. But he does form a relationship and a little bit of a bond with this young girl who pretends to be a guy throughout. That's one of the main things I remember always, is that he's able to smell her period blood, which is why they're being hunted by these creatures, because they smell blood and they think they're clean. They think they got nothing going, and you know, he has this kind of like super sense, and he's able to smell the blood on her, which is what exposes her as a girl, pretending to be a boy. I always remembered that. But regardless, yeah, he forms a bit of a bond with her, and then we got Keith David in here, which is cool to see. And he's like the religious one, and you know, there's a good back and forth between them about God, and you know, typically they make a Riddick character like no, I don't believe in God, because what God would allow these types of things to happen. And Riddick is different than that, and is like, oh no, I believe in God, I just fucking hate him because of what he's done, because of what he did to me, what he's done to the world, what he's done to everybody. I believe in him completely, and I hate him. That reminds me of Punisher Warzone, when the Punisher's asked about God, or like God gets brought up, and he's like, I'd love to get my hands on God. Like, he hates him. Like, it's not that he doesn't believe in him, it's that he definitely believes in him, and he thinks he's an asshole, which is a totally different thing altogether, right? So I liked that. I thought that was cool. And I will say, the movie, actually, if I was to liken it to anything as far as like the way it looks, it kind of reminded me, just the washed out colors and the kind of the cheapness of it. It did remind me a bit of the Dune miniseries, both Frank Herbert's Dune and Children of Dune, which I watched recently. They're both about 4 hours long. If you're a Dune fan, it covers books 1 through, I think, 3. I think it covers book 1, 2, and Dune Messiah. But yeah, it kind of felt like that. I really liked the Dune miniseries stuff. But yeah, it has that made-for-TV kind of quality to it that feels cheap, especially that early 2000s, late 90s feel, like Stephen King miniseries or something. Don't get me wrong, I love late 90s Stephen King miniseries, but they feel cheap. They do, as much as I love them. And then, yeah, there's a lot of weird editing choices in this movie that I don't like. The camera work, I'm not a fan of. I think the movie looks ugly. But there's like reversals where they like literally flip the image. They'll like put it forward and then put it back, like, and then it's supposed to be some kind of disorienting thing. And they get these like repeats of the same shot over and over, but like with reversals in between, and it's weird. And there's a lot of flashing, and I don't like it. I don't like the editing. I don't like the camera work. I don't like how the movie looks. I think that's my biggest issue. Other than that, I like the story. It's a pretty tropey one at times, but still got, you know, there's potential here, and I think that's why we've got more movies. I'd like to watch the other ones. I'd like to watch Dark Fury. I'd like to figure out what the story is of the video games. I know that the Escape from Butcher's Block video game was like remastered and put for free on the second Riddick game, which is pretty damn cool. When I was looking it up last night, I was like, oh wow, that's awesome. They redid it and put it on the next one for free. That's super rad. Oh man, when everyone like thanks Rada's character for saving them when she was like trying to kill them, I thought that was ironic and funny. Um, Riddick's able to dislocate any of his joints pretty much at any point. This reminded me a lot of Inosuke from Demon Slayer. Any Demon Slayer fans out there? This one's one-upping Star Wars instead of the 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 dual suns. On Tatooine, we got 3 suns on this bitch, and once in a while they come in alignment with the planets. I don't know how long, but this massive planet next to them covers all of the suns and makes everything pitch black, and these creatures can come out, and they fly as well, which just feels like a cheat code. It's fucked up. You can't also get to fly. They can run. They can freaking. They're like ultimate killing machines. And planet's big, of course, so I can't really critique this. They must have just landed in a bad area with like desert, because there's oxygen. So if there's oxygen, then there needs to be like plant life. There has to be something going on. Maybe coral reef in an ocean, or trees, or foliage, or something. Something needs to be creating the oxygen. But then also you need to be having something else on the planet that's creating carbon dioxide, so that there's a symbiotic relationship between the two breathing into one another. So I don't know. This planet seems to just be barren, and I don't know how these things live. That's another thing. There's seems to be endless amounts of these damn things, and it's like when they're in the tunnels for all that time, what are they eating? Each other? Probably. They're cannibals. This is like how they handled it in the Piranha movie. They just had them be cannibals endlessly. Anyway, it's cool when they think they see trees and they go over to them and they're actually just like skeletons of old creatures. The scene where she actually gets caught in the shaft when she's like trying to get up out, and she's been roped in with like a safety harness and a rope, and it's supposed to be her safety, and it's like what's preventing her from being able to ascend up out of the shaft. That was actually pretty tense, because it's like this thing's there to protect you, it's there to help you, it's there to pull you out, but she can't go back the way that she was, and they're all holding it, but they can't hear her because she's too far away, and they're like trying to pull her back down as these things are crawling up towards her. And then obviously the young girl hears her, and they bust through and they pull her out, but then she gets pulled back in. That's a whole really, really good scene. It kind of reminds me a bit of probably my favorite one of those types of scenes, where someone's like in a shaft, in like a thrilling scene, which is one of the great scenes of the Halloween franchise, and it's in one of the worst movies in the Halloween franchise, Halloween 5, when Jamie's stuck in the laundry chute. That is one of the tensest, best scenes in the entire franchise, and unfortunately it's in a very subpar film that has a lot of great scenes. I am very mixed on Halloween 5. I love some of it a lot, and some of it is super dumb, but I'll watch it any day of the week. I actually just watched it this week because I had a hankering to do so, and there's something about it. I do still love it in a kind of love-hate relationship kind of way. Anyway, I like that they point out that all the booze that they're drinking in here, they like hand it to each other because they don't have water, and she like is handed it, and she's like, this actually dehydrates us. This is not helping. But much like in Quantum of Solace, when Bond gives that guy a freaking can of motor oil, he's like, I bet I bet that you make it a few miles before you try to drink this. It's like, dude, if you got nothing to drink and you're thirsty as hell and there's water around you or anything that's liquid, it's tempting. It's tempting and that's the irony, right, of like being out at sea, being adrift in the ocean, and you have no water, and you're surrounded by water that you can't drink. It just feels like a cruel joke. I don't know why Riddick cuts off Rada's hair in this. Like, he sneaks up on them to cut her hair off and to sniff it. This is almost to make him seem like he's some kind of pervert, or like he's super menacing and untrustworthy, and like, I don't know. I don't really know why he does it. I don't really understand the reasoning behind it. Is it just to kind of prove that he's being sneaky? But then why sniff it? Because he's into her? I mean, she's good looking. I'll give him that. Like, if he's just into her, like, I get that, but like, it's weird. I just don't understand. He's gonna go up, cut her hair off, and sniff it. I don't. Yeah, he hasn't sniffed a woman in a while. I guess that's probably fair. He was in prison for a long time, and he goes to try to be stealthy, and he snips off a bit of her hair, and he sniffs it because he hasn't smelled a woman in a long time. I could go with that. That's fair. That's fine. Still odd, but let's see how you do after you've been in prison, in a horrible prison at that. Not that there's very many good prisons, but you know what I mean. And yeah, his little surgery that he has on his eyes, he gets a shine, as he calls it, while he's in there. He pays some surgeon. I don't really know how this works, because the way it seems is that he's put in a place where he's like, you'll never see the sun again, and there must be some light down there, obviously, and somehow they have access to medical equipment. I don't know. Okay, I'm assuming that there's a medical doctor on staff to treat wounds of patients, and he does backdoor deals, and Riddick accumulates enough funds for whatever and pays the doctor to give him this surgery so that he can see in the prison, which has little to no light, right? That's what I'm going to assume. Okay, that makes sense. I was like hashing things out right here, live. And the guy who shoots the other dude because he thought it was Riddick, and his response is like, oh, crikey. Like, thought it was Riddick. Oh, well, just murdered a guy. Like, mistaken identity. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Too bad, so sad. Oops. That's literally how he handles it. It's like, oopsies, killed a guy. Doesn't care, and nobody seems to care. Nobody really seems to give a shit after he's dead. They're all just kind of like, go on. Nobody's like, oh my god, you killed Bill, or whatever. I don't know what the hell his name was, but we'll just say Bill. I don't know. That was kind of insane to me. We get a kid get torn in half in this movie. You think that the kids are safe in this movie? Good on them here. A kid literally gets cut right in half, like running away from monsters. That was badass. And then this other chick gets freaking torn in half, and then she gets picked up and flown away and is screaming for help as a half of a person. Imagine being sliced in half and then being flown away, half of you, and you're screaming for help. I would assume she died very quickly. If you were to be cut directly in half, I can only assume you'd bleed to death very fast. Very fast. How could you not? Every one of your freaking major arteries and veins and everything are open. How long could you possibly last like that? Seconds. And then Johns, who's Cole Harser's character, the tough guy who's always like he's supposed to be the cop, but he isn't. He just has it out for Riddick. He's like a total drug addict, and of course he doesn't want to honor the deal that he makes with Riddick, and then Riddick gets him killed in their big fight showdown, and then a bunch of people don't trust Riddick after that, and it's like, dude, I'm totally on Riddick's side with this guy. This guy sucks. It's crazy though, because it's about an hour into the film before you get to the darkness. You would think that they would have got to that much quicker, but I'm glad they waited. I think that the setup and everything is good, and then the next like 35 minutes in darkness is right. I think that was a good balance. So good on them for not rushing it and fleshing things out and really setting the stakes and the stages and everything. I think that was good. And then I don't really understand the dude that's like obsessed with his liquor. Why he crawls away? Is he just scared? He like pulls apart the thing, which kind of screws everybody. I didn't really understand. Was he going after something? He ends up, and then he does the famous shot from the trailer where he takes the booze in his mouth and he blows the flame, and there's just creatures all around him. And can we just point out that the creatures in this are 100% a ripoff of Starship Troopers? Like, these things are ripped right out of Starship Troopers. This could honestly just be like a spin-off of Starship Troopers. That's what it felt like. And I didn't really understand how the light worked. Are they like hurt by the light? They just don't like the light? Because there's multiple times where they're close to light and they seem to be fine, and then like we see their vision, which is this really weird kind of like concrete vision, almost like those metal things that you would put your hand into or your face into, those little needles, you know what I'm talking about? That's kind of like how their vision worked. And there's multiple times where there was light and they could still see them, and it's like, can't you just kill the person? Like, the light thing didn't really work for me. I don't feel like it did well in this movie because they never showed what it would do to them. Like if they lit something really big up around them and they'd like burn from the light or something. They never really did that. They just kind of stayed away from it, and that was it. That was really kind of the only thing. I mean, at the end, Riddick like waits and burns them with the the jet engines at the end. But other than that, there's nothing really to the light in this. I don't think that was handled very well. And then, yeah, I mean, Carolyn, that's her name. Freaking Cole Harser Johns, he wants Riddick to kill her. That's why Riddick turns on him and is like kills him is because he wants him to kill Carolyn. So she doesn't even realize that he stopped that guy from ultimately doing what he probably would have done had Riddick not done it for him. Sorry, I had to take something out of the oven. I was trying to beat the timer, but I couldn't. I got close because I'm pretty much done. I was looking at the timer as it was going. I was like, I can do it. I did not do it. And then, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I'm also confused on, like, why he couldn't just fly over to where they are. Because that's, like, the argument I could see about, like, oh, well, maybe he was just going to, put the batteries in the ship, and then he was going to fly over to the canyon and pick them up, which, why couldn't he do this? Maybe because the canyon's too narrow, but couldn't he land up top and then, like, use the light to scare them away and then just kind of go down there and grab them and pull them up into the thing? Or does he just genuinely not give a shit and he's just leaving? Which is what I think. And then she comes and she convinces him to go back because she's like, I'm willing to have this turn. And he's like, all right, fine, I will too. And then he's really, really upset when she comes to help him because he's going to die, and she comes back for him, and she helps him up, and then she ends up getting killed, and he screams out like, not for me, not for me. Like, he doesn't want her to die for him. He's okay with her dying for anyone else but him, which I actually thought was a really cool character moment as well. So I think there's a lot of really good character stuff in here. But I still just can't figure out why they couldn't just take the ship. They both had the ship. It was functioning. It was working. They could have at least flown it closer, right, to the canyon and landed it, like, right there, leave all the lights on, landed at the very opening of it, then go with other lights that they got from the ship, walk down there, grab it, grab them, walk back, run back, and get into the transport and take off. Like, I don't know why that wasn't the plan. I honestly, I don't have an answer for that one. I actually think it's kind of a plot hole. I guess technically it's not, right? Because bad character decisions don't equate to plot holes, right? A plot hole is literally something that cannot be explained. This can be explained. It's just they're dumb. That's it. I guess it's a logic plot hole. I guess is what we would call it, because they're both smart. They're not dumb. That's why it becomes almost feels like a plot hole, because it feels like there's no way. It feels so out of character. Like, why would they not just take the transport, fly it over? It's not like they came up with something of like, oh, we only have so much juice in here. If we got to get to the ship that's waiting for us in space, and any second we fly this, as soon as we start flying it, we can't stop, or whatever. You come up with whatever reason. But this thing seems to be fully charged. It seems to have no problem moving around. So why not fly it over to the... Anyway, I've made my point. And my dog was liking to make his own points. And that's it. He ends up... he finds their blind spot. That's one thing I didn't mention. It doesn't really get used to much effect here. He just kind of stands in front of it and moves around with it, and then that's really it. That doesn't really do anything. He is able to defeat one with his bare hands, but I don't know. It doesn't amount to anything. The blind spot thing, it's just a gimmick. It's not a plot device. It doesn't end up doing anything in the film, which is fine. He finds a weakness of them, and that's it. He exploits it for a second and then moves on. And then Dark Fury, from what I've read, is after this. And it's him dropping off our two characters that survive and end up leaving with him. So, yeah, you got the believer, Keith David. He ends up surviving. I guess God is good. God is just. He ends up saving his most... determinant believer, and he also lets Riddick live, who hates him, I guess, but he's still a believer. And then the kid, he lets the other kid die, lets other people who are religious people die as well. So I don't know. I'm just making shit up for fun at the end here. But yeah, supposedly there is a story in between. There's a bridging of Pitch Black and Chronicles of Riddick. And that is this animated short, I think it's like 30 some odd minutes, that bridges the two films together, and actually we get to see the fate of what ends up happening to them as Riddick takes the ship and takes them somewhere. So I have not seen that. I can't comment on it, and I haven't seen Chronicles of Riddick or the movie literally just called Riddick, which is funny because isn't this one supposed to be the Chronicles of Riddick Pitch Black now? And then there's the Chronicles of Riddick, which I don't think that has a subtitle. I think that's just what it's called. And then the third one would be the Chronicles of Riddick. Riddick? It's not. It's just called Riddick. I don't know. The name. Hey, this is the guy attached to the Fast and the Furious franchise. Don't even get me started on the naming of that franchise. That is the most absurdly named franchise in the history of film. So, never put Vin Diesel in charge of naming franchises. So that's it. Yeah, it's cool. Of course, I would have liked this to have a bigger or better budget, more gore, stuff like that, better looking stuff. I think that's kind of what we get with Riddick. So maybe I need to rewatch that one. But yeah, I guess when, since they're filming it, when the Riddick Fury, whatever the fuck it is coming out, I'll check back out the other ones and actually watch the animated stuff as well. So, all right, what do you guys think about this movie? Are you looking forward to another Riddick film? Are you a fan of Vin Diesel? What's your favorite Vin Diesel film? Or do you just hate the guy? I know a lot of people hate the guy, which is fine. I don't know. My favorite Vin Diesel movie. Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to think about that one. He has some ridiculous ones. The Triple X movies. And I never did think of that other damn freaking movie. What's it called? I can't sit here and think too long. It'd be boring. well, I'll go look for it, and I'll comment it in the description or in the comments below. But yeah, that's that. I'll see you in the comments.